Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the December 2nd, 2025 Dover Select Board meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. First order of business. Carl, can you give us your last name so we can record that you're at the meeting?
It's Brownback. I'm not a Dover resident. I'm just observing.
That's fine. You don't have to be a Dover resident, but thank you. Bromback,
Yeah,
Brom, Brom.
Braunbach.
Ah, okay, great. Thank you.
thank you very much. Public comments.
I've got a brief announcement.
Okay, Tabby.
Okay, I have posted on the wall in the lower entry by my office the preliminary, which look to be hopefully the final new floodplain maps for the town. They are blown up big. You can look at the maps and see where you are, and the floodplains have changed. Many of them are smaller and some have changed direction. There is also the preliminary FIS book. It's a white three-ring notebook that's on the side that has all sorts of information in it. But the key, if you go down and look to see where you are, there are 7 or 8 businesses or people that have a LOMA, letter of map amendment, or a letter of map change. Many of the ones that are in their system are the same, but these 7 or 8 are affected by this change. I have copies of those LOMAs. There are 7 businesses on Route 100 and 1 residence on Stuger Road. And I will send out a letter to all of those people letting them know that they may wish to review those changes. It's not all wiped off. There are different numbers for those, and I'm happy to take a little time and explain any of that to people. But come take a look at the maps, see what's out there, and reach out to me if you have any questions.
Thank you, Tabby. Anybody have any other comments? Okay, moving on. Additions and deletions to the agenda. I'm not aware of any. Does anybody have any?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Next, Shannon is up with economic development. A review of the economic development budget for the 26-27 fiscal year.
Hello.
Shannon. Hi.
Hi. So I sent a budget for the next town report for fiscal year 26-27. I did include year-to-date spending as of the last check run on 11/24, and then a few notes on some things. I didn't see any questions, so let me know if there's something I can help with.
Anybody have any questions about the economic? Yes, Patrick.
Yep. Shannon, thank you for sending that over. I had a chance to spend some time with it earlier today. I have 2 or 3 questions, just so I can make sure I understand a couple of the numbers. You have on the revenue side, you have budgeted this year 500,000, and it looks like it's the same for next year, but at least it looks like at least year to date, if you kind of annualize that number, you're kind of behind 500,000. Is that fair?
Yes. So the way those payments come in, we get 2 bigger ones and 2 smaller ones, and we haven't seen the bigger ones yet for this fiscal
Oh,
year.
okay. Got it. So it's not necessarily an even amount. Do
Right.
you feel then like overall it's going to be behind like the prior years, the 23 and 24 years?
It is really hard to truly guess anything that comes to the 1%, which I think is why we have always traditionally budgeted that revenue as being lower than it generally is,
Yep.
in case any unforeseen surprises or changes at the state level. It's all so confusing. So we've left it, at least since I've been here, I think we've always budgeted for just 500,000, and it has been over that, I think, in every case, but just to make sure that we're not planning on things that might not happen.
Got it. And then my second question, or maybe the third, on several of the expense items, it looked like, for example, you had some things budgeted like $50,000 for business development and 325,000 for trail maintenance and things like that. Is that because the big spend, if you will, hasn't come? Is it the same explanation that the spend actually happens later in the year on those items?
So for
Or
business development, it's been left in there. I think Eric had hopes last year that he would run another business plan competition, and that didn't work out. BDCC ran one at the same time. So I've left that in just in case the opportunity presents itself to do something similar or a new
yeah,
program, just so we've allocated for that. And then for the trail stuff, we've definitely the last couple of years set aside some big funds for it, just so we have that there and we can keep moving forward on things. So there's nothing planned at the moment, but it would be nice if we could. So I would prefer to leave that there and just know that we've thought about it and I'm planning on something happening, and just to see what it looks like on the spend overall.
okay. Last question. I promise. Um, on the STRs, I think I had sent a note to ask you the question, but I just wanted to make sure we said this out loud here. That it looks like STR registration, it looks like it's overall tracking about where it needs to be for the year, but it looks like our cost of our service that we pay it's really close to break even, but hopefully your theory is over time it kind of pays for itself. Is that fair?
Yes, and I think when Eric developed this, I don't think our goal is not to make money. We're not looking to bring in tons of money for this. We simply
Right.
just want to pay for the service. So I think the first year or two, I don't know that we'll reach that point where we've completely paid for it, especially since we've just now paid for the second year. Since we started developing with them. But I think in theory, yes, it should. Those registrations coming in should pay for our costs associated with it, and
Okay.
hopefully, and not much else.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Other questions? Okay. Anything else for us, Shannon?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
Oh.
Moving on to the fire department.
Vicky.
Yeah.
So Richard probably wasn't gonna be here till about 7. So
Okay. We'll
asked
skip.
him to do it as soon as he could get on, but I did send you his preliminary budgets.
Yes. Yes.
But if you want,
So, okay, we'll skip over the fire department for now and
Okay.
go down to new business.
okay.
Consider a possibility of shared police services with Wardsboro. And Diane Ships is here
Yes,
from Wardsboro.
thank you for having me tonight. We are concerned with lack of protection. We don't really want to contract with the sheriff. The state police are far away and we haven't found them as responsive as we've liked. We would like to consider contracting with Dover. At the moment, I will acknowledge that an awful lot of details would need to be worked out. We are looking for the more serious type of protection and not necessarily, parking tickets or things of that nature. Not necessarily, we're not looking for things of that nature. So right now, I'm just interested in finding out if the Dover Select Board is even interested in pursuing discussion on this, in which case I'll get to work and see what I can find out that other towns are doing and, wherever we need to go from there. But it seems silly to put a lot of time into it if that isn't something that Dover is even interested in. And if you are, to get your thoughts and ideas before taking the next step.
Okay. And it's my understanding that you started with our police chief, Mike Arbogast.
Right.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't sure who to contact first, and that seemed the logical
That's
move.
perfectly fine, and he sent you this way. And
Right.
Mike, could you do respond to some Wardsboro calls at this point, right?
Yeah, so pretty much only if it's to protect, safety or property. Traffic accidents sometimes, depending on the nature of them. If there's an active assault of some sort going on, we'll respond to that. Active burglary, that kind of thing. But our function there is just to control the scene until state police can get there to start their investigation.
Hi, Mike.
Any questions or comments? I think there would be a lot of exploration in this
Yeah.
scenario potentially, if we want to go that way, to figure out how that might work. So Sarah.
Yeah, I would be in favor of exploring it. Diane, I would just suggest that, recognize that, to put it bluntly, Dover's not going to want to go out of pocket to provide the service.
Oh, absolutely. Hence
So
why
there'd
we're
have to be a
pursuing
way
the
to
contract.
figure out
Right.
the expense of it and that be fully covered by Wardsboro.
I also feel that there will be a lot of gray area. So we would need to clearly delineate when it would be okay for a Wardsboro citizen to call in Dover police and when it's not okay, so that your time isn't taken up with trivialities. So that gray area would need to be clearly defined. There's a lot to this. It will take some time to figure out, and there's a lot of research, what other towns are doing, what VLCT has to say on the matter. But before we went that route, we wanted to see what your opinion on the matter was. And I appreciate, very much appreciate that Dover does respond in those emergencies. And maybe it's to your benefit to be compensated for that. And I'm really grateful that you do it because to serve and protect is the idea. But maybe that should be formalized a little bit and you should be compensated for whenever you do come over here.
Sarah.
So I would just say, I would feel comfortable telling you to go ahead and do some research. My personal opinion would be that I think it's a good thing to explore, but
Okay.
I'm one vote, so.
Any other board, Patrick?
Yep, I would agree. Second what Sarah said. I agree.
Thank you.
How about you, Dan?
I agree. Of course, the last thing we want them to do is to be stopping cars unnecessarily. But any kind of real emergency that requires communication, we would be happy to help out if it works out.
How about you, Joe?
Yeah, same. It sounds like we're already going over and helping them, and I like the fact that Wardsboro is coming to us to help out a little bit more and also have some sort of compensation for it. So I definitely would love to explore it, and I would love to hear from the police chief of what he thinks.
Mike?
Yeah, so the gray area is definitely quite gray. I don't know of, not that there aren't any situations like this, but I don't know of any situations where there's a police department that covers some types of calls, but not all calls in a town. The closest thing would be contracted sheriff work, which I don't think that we're set up for that, or that would be the right fit for anyone involved. And my fear would be that, let's say we try to create some sort of algorithm that this type of call we respond to, this type of call we don't. If we don't respond to that call, what happens to it? Is state police going to say, well, call Dover, we don't care anymore? Or are they going to try to handle it by the phone, and then when they realize that it's going to be an investigation that takes more than 20 minutes, say, oh, nope, this is bigger than you thought it was, now you got to call Dover? Or is it a small case that once somebody starts digging, a tiny neighbor dispute turns into, years of actual crimes of some sort, whether that's property or, you never know what's going to happen when you start a small investigation. And so if you're giving small cases to state police, A, they're not going to want to deal with that. And B, what happens when that small case evolves into something larger? Are they then going to try to pawn it off on us and we take over an investigation that's half been done by another agency? I just think there's a whole lot of gray there. And the only thing that really makes a whole lot of sense to me would be complete coverage. And I don't know if that's an interest that they have. I don't know what that looks like monetarily. I don't know that gray area is surmountable. there would be so much of it. There would be question after question on case after case as to who does what and what the responsibilities are. And then what are we charging? Are we charging per the hour? Are we charging for coverage? Are we charging, you know what I mean? There's just the amount of things that I can't even think about that would come up is pretty daunting.
Yeah, I have to agree. There's a lot there. I would need to find out what responsibilities the state police have and whether or not they could say, well, we're just not interested, go someplace else. The reason why we're not looking for complete coverage, well, two reasons. Of course, monetarily, we're not a wealthy town, but we also don't want to put too much stress on your system. I don't know that you want your people to be coming out here making traffic tickets or come out because somebody hears a sound in their backyard or because a dog is barking or whatever. So I was hoping to split it out. Maybe we could split it out in terms of, and again, it would have to be much more clearly defined, but what's an immediate danger is really our main concern. It takes the state police 40 minutes just to get here. And we've had a couple of occasions where they took a look at somebody wielding a gun and said, nope, and just left. And that doesn't leave a warm, fuzzy feeling for any of us. So something that is in immediate danger is more of our concern. Something that would have to go to court and take an investigation, that is not an immediate concern. That can go through the state police, presuming that they, I don't understand what their level of responsibility is, that they would walk away from a guy wielding a gun and threatening his neighbors because they just don't feel like doing it, and that has happened twice. So I would need to get a much better sense of what the state police are doing or what they should be doing and how accountable we can hold them. As far as I'm concerned right now, there's no accountability. They're just not there for us at all.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's a lot to look into. And it sounds like you're interested in exploring the idea, which would be the first step.
Yeah, and it sounds like a lot of work for you.
It will be.
But I think that we're willing to listen and hear and try to figure out if it is something that can work. We're willing to be there to,
All right, so
push
I have
this
to go
along
ahead
if it makes sense. By
Yeah,
the time we do all the research, you do all the research and come back to, it may not make sense, but it's worth a
know.
try.
I appreciate your support. Thank you. And I will look into it and see what I can find out and if it's even a doable thing.
So
Everybody good with that?
I have a question.
Yes,
Yeah.
Joe?
So I assume that you brought this up at a select board meeting in Wardsboro, and there's
Yes.
definitely a lot of interest with your town on this.
The select board is interested in pursuing it. We have not brought it up to the town, but we have had complaints from our town residents that they are not feeling comfortable. We have had a contract offered to us by the sheriff's department, but we're not very comfortable with that either. Part of the reason is it's an elected official and not really accountable in any real way. And part of the reason is the contract was written in such a way that if they just don't happen to, it's off hours or it's a holiday or whatever, and we have a real problem and they're just not there. We left them for animal control because of that too. We had a situation where the animal control officer was off for the evening, and we had, unfortunately, a family moved into Wardsboro on a Thursday, left for New Hampshire on Friday to do some shopping, got into an accident. He was killed and she was hospitalized and may well be, paralyzed for the rest of her life. And I get a frantic call from the from the state police that there are puppies in the house and no one to take care of them. And they tried to call animal control, they tried to call the shelter, they tried to call everybody, and nobody would deal with this, so they called me as the health officer. And it wasn't quite in my purview either, but we went over and took care of the puppies. So we're just not getting the response from the sheriff either. It's more of a money thing than a support thing. And we need something that we aren't able to get anyplace else. And you are our first thought that maybe we can work something out.
Okay. Just to add to that, I guess it would be great, if we start to explore this. I mean, I don't know the process. Totally, but it would be great to know that you brought it up at town meeting in March and you got a pretty good, strong showing. Because the last thing I would like to do as our select board doing a lot of work and also our police chief, is get to something and then get to a number that then you just don't want to do it. That then we just wasted everybody's time too much. So
I
sounds
agree.
like you need to come up with like a monetary what you can spend so that you can figure out on all three sides of what the best solution is, whether it's the state police, the sheriff's, or something with Dover type thing. But it sounds like, from my understanding, we are still going over there if it is something serious, correct?
Okay.
Mike?
I think that's a good idea, Joe. I think that it should be like a non-binding question at town meeting or something.
I agree, but I would like to have more information to present to them.
Oh, of course.
Again,
Totally.
for me to do all that work and you saying, well, we're just not interested. So knowing that you are interested in exploring, I will start doing that work. So when it absolutely would have to come before the town meeting. This is too big a question to not do that with. But I would like to have something a little bit more concrete to present to them. And then after that, there will still be more work to do, I'm sure. This isn't a simple topic.
Great. All
Got
right.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Have a great night.
You too. Glad
Bye-bye.
you didn't have to drive over.
I spent 4 hours on the road today. A dog tore his ACL and we had to
Oh.
take him for a consult with a surgeon, and yeah, he was going to need surgery.
Oh, man.
So I drove in this to take care of my boy.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
So our fire chief is here now. So we skipped over you, Rich. We are going to come back to you for your budget.
I can't believe you skipped over me.
Oh,
Well, we weren't going to sit here and just look at each other. So that was the
But
option.
I've been looking at you for years, Vicky.
Jeez. Okay, you're on.
I sent you my budget.
Yeah, we
and,
know.
So we have a little bit. My camera doesn't work, so kind of just watch top of my head. But anyways, we I always one of the last things I always get is our dispatching fees and a little bit of history. Eastover had been using Keene Mutual Aid, Southwestern New Hampshire Mutual Aid Fire Dispatch Center located in Keene, New Hampshire for years and years, but they had a special deal with them because you probably remember, Vicky, there was the phones everybody answered. Patsy had one, the Bartletts had one, I think your mom had one, or your grandmother, I don't remember which one, but there was the red phone system in town. And when I first got involved with Eastover, they dispatched through mutual aid, but they weren't the primary, they were more of a backup system. So they got a really good deal. They were only spending a few $100s a year. And then Westover was being dispatched by Deerfield Valley Rescue, and Lucille Rice had come, and they had a big meeting with the select board, and they were looking at Lucille Rice becoming their primary dispatch. And instead of going with the Deerfield Valley Mutual Aid, and they decided to go to Keene Mutual Aid. And when they did that, it kind of changed the financing. So Westover's been covering all the dispatching costs, because if it's based on, there's a formula they use a percentage of population, a percentage of grand lists, a percentage of calls, and there's a flat fee. And it's hard to decide how much would be Eastover's, how much would be Westover's. And Eastover, pretty much you guys finance a large portion of their budget, or the town does, so it just made sense to just put it in the one budget. So it's always been in the Westover budget. But this year it increased a lot. They went from 60 something thousand to 88,000 or 89. I sent it to Jeanette. I believe she sent it to you folks. And there's also a letter explaining the big increase from the president of the board. The previous administration, the top three people in mutual aid in the administration over there have all retired or left. and they found that they were to keep the increases down. They weren't properly charging everybody. So we got hit pretty hard. It's a pretty big increase. Percentage wise, it's, like 40% or something. So my thought though had been is that that should probably get moved over to more to emergency management because it's really not the Westover Fire Department's total expense. And the other part of it is with mutual aid, they charge for fire dispatching, but they don't charge for ambulance or rescue squads because they figure that the town is paying for the dispatch services for the fire department, so they cover the ambulance services. So none of like Rescue Inc. or Deerfield Valley or any ambulance services that are involved through dispatch through mutual aid don't get charged. It gets charged through the town. So it is it's truly emergency management because it's all the emergency people, and we do use them. That's the primary frequency we use, like during Irene and stuff. So that was my thought. So on the emergency management side, I moved that over, which gives that budget a huge increase. But it seemed to make more sense. I can put it back in the fire department budget, but it's not a number I can really do anything about. So that was pretty much it.
Questions of Rich? Thoughts?
It's snowing out.
Yes.
So what do you guys want me to do, or do you want to think about it and get back to me? I made up a line item in emergency management to move dispatching over to, and I just made up, I think I got the right code numbers, but I think that specific, the last 4 digits, I put question marks. And Jeanette, when I talked with her, she said she would talk to Marco and Marco could create a line item. I just wanted to show it to you guys. And I deducted everything but $1,000 because we still have some dispatching dues. I call them dispatching, but we are still part of the Deerfield Valley Mutual Aid, and there's a fee for that. And there is a fee we pay to Deerfield. Each fire department pays like $100 a year fee to mutual aid to Southwestern New Hampshire. So that I did leave some money in that, and I don't remember all the different numbers, but I did leave a little bit in the budget for that on the fire department side.
Yeah.
There's no other opportunity to do any different kind of dispatching, so we're pretty much stuck with this one group.
Yeah, pretty much, Dan. The state of Vermont's looking at something, but that's usually sponsored by the state police. It's really supposed to be Department of Public Safety, but there's some confusion sometimes as, whether who's a department and who's a division of that department, the state police or public safety. So there has been some study going on. There was, if you remember when Randy was still police chief, there was some changes talked about in dispatching, and they were going to start charging us. At one time, the sheriff looked into setting up a dispatch center for all of Windham County. That he thought he could do the fire and the police a lot cheaper. Southwestern New Hampshire used to do police too, but they got away from it because it's almost competing. The problem too is when it's busy for one, it's usually busy for all. You get a good snowstorm and, the dispatch is going crazy because cars off the road. And, I have a joke that the two biggest things that are killing fire departments are cell phones and automatic fire alarms because, you used to go to 20 calls a year. Now a car slips off the road. Everybody who drives by calls in a car accident, which requires fire departments to respond and police to respond. So, I can't tell you how many times we've gone to sugar houses because people drive by, they have their cell phone, and they say, oh, there's a building on fire. There's all sorts of smoke coming out of it. So
basically, this long and the short of this, Rich, is move it out of the fire department budget and just it's a move to a different category.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any issues with that?
Nope.
Okay, that looks like it's okay to do, Rich.
Okay.
Any other questions about specific items in the fire department budget? I see none.
I have one other quick comment. Last year, we broke up a lot of the different payroll items too to kind of have a better track of training. And so we're going to make a few adjustments in that, but there's some that we kind of overcompensated, or we put too much in some and not enough in others, but the bottom line is going to be pretty close. And that was the only other real point I wanted to make on our budget.
Okay. Hearing no other comments from anybody? Okay. So thank you, Rich.
Hey, could I have two more quick things just as FYIs for you guys?
Sure.
Okay. One, Deerfield Valley Rescue asked if it was okay to put an ambulance back in the Westover Firehouse on weekends, and I guess they're working a deal with Mount Snow to staff an ambulance in Dover because the clinic isn't open up at the mountain this year. And so they're going to have a couple people up this way while the mountain's open for skiing. So I had no problem with that. I don't believe I needed to get your guys' approval, but I thought it would be good for you to know that there is going to be an ambulance up there. I asked if they would respond to calls, if there was an emergency in Dover, or was it strictly a Mount Snow ambulance? And they said that they do, part of their agreement is they do have to supply an ambulance. So if there was an emergency, they would go and help out, but they would have to backfill that position. And there's maybe a little more electricity when they're in there, but shouldn't be a big expense to us. And we did used to have an ambulance left in the town, but there was nobody really from Dover that's on Deerfield Valley Rescue, so people would have to drive from Wilmington to come up here to pick the ambulance up and leave. So I just thought it was an FYI in case you all, as a selectman, hear somebody say, "Why is there an ambulance parked in the firehouse again?" And the second thing was, we had gone to you guys and we put money in the capital budget before COVID, do the bunk room in the firehouse. And then we had COVID, and then we couldn't find anybody to do it. And we had some other issues to deal with at the fire department. But I just want to report that we finally got the basement taken care of from the flooding, so we can move the gym out of the upstairs. And that was one of the things that was holding us back. And I did talk with Bob Rubin, and Bob's going to help us with getting that work moving forward. He's going to offer us a discount on his rate, and he's going to pretty much just GC us and get us some people to do the work. So I asked several people to get us pricing. Nobody's ever got me pricing. So I wanted to just move forward with Bob. And I'm supposed to meet with him in labor, and I've met with him to get us some numbers, and I met with we have to meet with labor and industry again just to go over it, because it's been a couple of years since we applied for the permit. But when Bob gets me some numbers, I was going to bring them to the board to have you look at it. We budgeted $20,000. I don't believe it's going to do it all, but the association was going to help out. And obviously, it's been a few years, so cost of everything's gone up pre-COVID. So when I get Bob's numbers, I'll come back to the board with that.
Okay.
That was all I had. Thank you.
Any comment? Anybody want to weigh in on anything Rich just FYI'd us on? Great.
Nope.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, folks.
I need to
drive
take
safely. Get home.
Yeah. Well, I need to take a second now and text Travis, because he's got a dump truck in the ditch and he's supposed to be in executive session with us.
Vicki, he just logged on.
Oh, we did.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. We're moving on to the consent agenda. Approve the minutes from November 18th and November 20th, 2025.
Move to accept the minutes.
I second.
Any changes, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Yeah, Dan
Joe?
I wasn't here.
Okay, you weren't there at one of
at
them.
the 18th.
That
Joe,
was
did you vote?
So I make a motion, we approve the minutes of November 20th.
second.
Aye.
Aye.
And Dan, you're
Aye.
doing that, right?
Okay. Joe's on that
Aye,
one.
in the minutes, yes.
One was there for that, yes.
Okay.
And I make a motion to approve the warrants of November 22nd for $333,154.26.
Second.
Only, I believe only the three of you, Vicky, Sarah, and Patrick, have seen those.
I
Okay.
have to abstain. I have not looked at them. I was gonna look at them tonight.
And
Dan?
Dan is,
I abstain as well.
okay.
I'll look at them in the morning.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Two and two abstentions. Next, we have planning, FYI, Planning Commission meets December 8th at 6:30 p.m. Dover School Community Feast is December 10th at noon. Dover Water Task Force meets December 10th at 5 p.m. Dover Holiday Craft Fair, December 13th from 10 to 3 at the Dover Town Hall. And budget meeting is December 18th at 1 p.m. at the Dover Town Office. Any liaison reports?
Nope.
No. Okay. So we need to move into executive session for a personnel issue at 7:06 p.m.
I move to go into executive session. Or do we need a
Second.
motion?
Yes, we need a motion. Yeah.
Okay, so moved. Yeah.